Hi, everybody. So, welcome to our panel today. It's from idea to exit, the successfully scaling of fintech in Asia. So, my name is Rachel. I'm your today's panel host. So, I am the head of strategic development for RGAX. So, it's the innovation arm of the Reinsurance Group of America. So I take care of the strategic investment and partnership for our company. So I think that's also why I'm here. So very excited that I have a very great panel today. That they all of them have been going through, pave their way successfully from idea to exit. So I have Amanda Tung from Zhong'an, Mikael from SoFi, and Abhinav from Echo India Financial Services. So, I mean, I would just to start our panel, I think I would just hand over the stage to my panelists and having them to introduce themselves. So, Amanda, maybe I'll hand over to you first.
Sure. Okay. So my name is Amanda. I'm the senior manager at Zhong'an International in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, we have virtual banking and also virtual insurance business. So my role is actually looking after partnerships across the group. In Zhong'an, we truly believe the ecosystem. So my role is basically find opportunities through different partners to help the business to grow. Also, I am the board member of FinTech Association of Hong Kong. So have been in the industry for quite a while.
Okay, great. And Miguel, I'll hand over to you, you being the second.
So my name is Mikaal Abdulla. I am the SVP of International for SoFi, which is a new role. I started a company in 2012 called Age Securities, which was Asia's first mobile-only investing service, and it was acquired by SoFi a few months ago. So quick background.
Okay, thank you very much. And Abhinav?
Hi everyone, my name is Abhinav. I co-founded Echo in India in September of 2007. In India, we cater to people who are non-salaried. Close to about 80% of Indian economy is based on small MSMEs and informal MSMEs rather. And most of the services, financial services that are typically designed are designed for the salaried people who earn electronically. And we kind of create financial services. We are a full stack financial services company for non-salaried, both consumers as well as small MSMEs in India. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's awesome. And then maybe I'll start from the beginning of the story of each of you. So let's talk about the idea, how you actually come up with the idea. So Abhinav, I will start from you. So Echo India Financial Services, you provide the no-frills bank accounts and deposits, withdrawal, and remittance services to customer. And I know most of the customer, maybe 80% of them are migrants or they are unbanked. So and you provide the services through mobile banking. And how did you come up with this vision? And also, what made you the decision, to serve or to bank those unbanked? And what actually, what you can do, but while the banks cannot do? Maybe a little bit on that.
Sure. Thank you so much for asking that question and taking me back to the start of Echo. We started about 13 years back. 13 years back in India, there were a lot of information about more than 80% of Indians not having bank accounts. And so on one side, there was this information that 80% of Indians did not have bank accounts. And at the same time, India was going through a massive mobile telephony wave, where millions and millions of people were getting into telephony every month. And, this was happening because of prepaid telephony. It wasn't the postpaid systems that was really scaling up in India. It was the prepaid telephony that was scaling in India. And it was happening in the back of the marriage between a mom and pop store and really cheap available feature phones in 2007, where people who wanted to get themselves a prepaid talk time could actually, or a SIM card, could actually go into a neighborhood mom and pop store, produce an ID card, get a SIM card, and recharge or buy prepaid talk time right at that mom and pop store. And there's a massive revolution of telecom where over a billion people got themselves into telephony. And in 2007, I thought that, and my background was from telecom. So we had a startup before Echo, and we were building mobile value-added services for mobile network operators across the globe. And we could see prepaid recharges blossoming across the world. And we thought that, if telephony can scale so significantly for billions of people with the marriage of simple technology and a common mom and pop store, which is very, very prevalent and ubiquitous in India, why can't banking? And we kind of made a sachet product or a small product out of a bank account or a cash in, cash out transaction, wherein a customer could actually walk into a mom and pop store and get themselves a bank account, could do deposit, withdrawal, remittance, and a few other services, really with the clicking of a few buttons. And so my background in working with mobile network operators, pretty much all over Southeast Asia, where we were noticing this change, and then kind of bringing all that innovation and technology and processes to banking in India. That was really where we started. And we started in 2007. Kenya was already, I'm sure most of you must be aware of the M-Pesa revolution that happened in Kenya, which started in 2006. And so that was really a big inspiration for us. There's also a lot of innovation happening in Indonesia and Philippines at that point in time with mobile money. And having put all of those innovations, having studied some of those projects and looking at their inclusion needs of banking in India, we kind of took this project up. And it's been absolutely a fantastic journey. Over the last 13 years, Echo, we've serviced closer to 40 million people. And it's been an incredible journey with lots and ups and downs.
Thank you. That's a very impressive story of technology enabling the banking services and enabling the people, and then to meet their unmet demands. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I will go to Mikaal. And Mikaal, well, first of all, congratulations for the successful exit. So you have founded A Securities in 2012, and basically you're providing that mobile investing solutions with a very simple, transparent, and affordable way. And so I believe you have been, I know that this is currently like a great successful exit, but I believe the journey itself has a lot of things to tell. So maybe you share with us a little bit about the key milestones that you have experienced. No matter the good or bad or frustrating things, I just to share with the audience. Thank you.
Sure. So thank you again for having me. I think maybe just starting for the rationale very quickly as to why we started 8 Securities. I had been at E-Trade, which was an online broker in the US, one of the first online brokers in the US for 10 years. And I had launched E-Trade's business in Hong Kong in 99-2000. And over the course of the next 10 years, there was really a sense that nothing was evolving. And we saw an opportunity that young investors' needs weren't being met. And we had sort of 3 core principles that the product had to be, simple, affordable, fast, and wrap that obviously in transparency. And we thought that would be a real opportunity to launch a business in Hong Kong. So that was the rationale, was really focusing on younger investors that we thought were being largely ignored. And if we sort of fast forward to today, 75-80% of our customers are in their 20s and 30s. So our average customers in their late 20s today, which is a much younger profile than many of our competitors. But as you said, the journey was, it's not easy. I often tell others and sort of, other entrepreneurs that they're not alone, that at least in my own experience, 9 out of 10 days are really hard. But it's that one day where everything clicks or something works, whether it's a new product feature, whether it's we're able to raise money, whatever it may be. and that just makes up for the rest, and it's kind of a boost and it keeps you going. But I would say it's not a decision to be taken lightly to start a company, because it is hard. The fundraising is hard. Recruiting a team is hard. Building a product is hard. If you're in finance, working with the regulators is hard. There's nothing about the process is easy. But overcoming those challenges, if you're the type of person that sort of gets satisfaction from doing that, then go all in. But yes, as you said, our process was not a simple one, but luckily we had a good outcome at the end.
Thank you very much. So overcoming the challenges and go all in, I guess it's something that actually can drives you to overcome all the things that you have encountered, and then keep it going, and until today that you get the successful exit. That's amazing. And then I will go to Amanda. So Amanda is the senior manager, leading the partnership for ZhongAn. So we all know ZhongAn has already been IPO, and it's got very successfully got the digital banking and digital insurer license in Hong Kong. So my question for Amanda is that I know even ZhongAn is actually taking, it's a startup, but it's also taking, I would say, a corporate or a very successful, IPO company's way of, doing business. So what is actually the business decision or vision that's actually backing all these moves for ZhongAn? And what has been the key success so far that in your mind?
So the entity who went to IPO is actually our mother group of the Hong Kong entity. So the Hong Kong operations is under ZhongAn International. In terms of operations, we are quite separate from the China team. In China, we focus a lot of the GI products and working very closely with over 350 partners to offer different insurance products in China. But in Hong Kong, we would like to go further in a sense that the ultimate goal for us is to offer integrated finance solutions to our customers. That's why we have the bank, we have the insurance, and there's quite a few other business coming along the way. The idea for us is to provide like a digital savvy experience to our customers in terms of how they can actually manage their finance. That's the goal that we have. And the key success that we have, I would say we are quite lucky in a sense, because in Hong Kong we are the first to have the mass launch of the virtual bank, so we can entitle or enjoy the honeymoon period of a first mover advantage. But to some of our surprise is that a lot of our marketing activities are actually driving from partners and also word of mouth of our clients or customers. We thought that it's a digital space, so we should target heavily on the undergraduates or the millennials. But when we look at our customer profile, it's quite surprising. Majority of them are actually in their 30s, 40s, male, very dominant. So this is something that we are actually learning every day as well.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you very much. And then I think all of us sort of mentioned the impact, or not the impact, or the collaboration, or the efforts that we are required as a fintech company to work with regulators. And I guess that's also a very key part that we need to think about in our daily, operations. So I will also pivot my direction to that, the regulation part. So Amanda, a follow-up question for you is there any tips that how ZhongAn navigate the regulatory landscape and the frameworks? And it's always we are always trying to find, we're always trying to do, as regulator first, but at the same time we also wanted to make sure we're customer first. So how do you actually balance these two mindset, and also what is the impact on the user experience or user interface for the end customers?
So of course that, we love our regulators. So we are very lucky that we have a very good compliance team that have regular conversations with both MA and IA. To understand what's their concern, and we are trying to keep as transparent as possible, because at the end we also wanted to provide some kind of protections to our customers as well, right? To answer your questions about customer journey, I think we strive very hard to actually balance the requirement from regulators versus a smooth or seamless customer journey. In our team, we actually have a specific team to look at the UX UI from a customer's perspective. So in different rounds of discussions that we will heavily involve them to come up with ideas how we can actually provide a better customer service from that side, and then we will actually bring this up to regulators in discussions as well, because I think especially in the digital world, why they wanted to issue new license to us is because they wanted to provide a better journey in the digital space to our customers. So like say for example, the record we have for account opening, it's 2 minutes 40 seconds. So I mean, this is something that we are quite proud of, that we are bringing different experience to our customers, but at the same time we are able to meet the requirements of regulators as well.
Thank you very much. So the key takeaways that I have is to constantly understand the customer demands, but at the same time, always open up that conversation, or always keep the conversation with regulators.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And Abhinav, I think the question is also for you that, can you describe a little bit about the regulatory environment for the Indian FinTech ecosystem? And also like, how does it actually facilitate the innovation and new technologies? And also like, we're all aware of the Aadhaar, that's the Aadhaar, that's the impact to the India's FinTech ecosystem. So what is the breakthrough that did Aadhaar give your business, and especially give the user interaction, user interface, and user experience part?
Sure. A couple of parts to the question. So let me just take the regulator part first. Like I said, we've been in business for the last 13 years. And I did not come from financial services, so really did not understand the gravity of regulators in the financial services space. So we didn't really take them seriously in the first couple of years, only to realize how big that mistake is. So I completely agree with Amanda that, it is so much important to actually work very, very closely with one's regulator. Also, as an entrepreneur, we want things to happen at the speed of light, right? We just want all the technology available. We want all the flexibility to innovate, to create the products. But it's also important to pace oneself with the regulator correctly. And, if you're way too before the market as compared to the regulator, you'll probably be burnt out, right? And if you can pace yourself correctly, and if you can time yourself correctly, I think this is some of the tougher skills for entrepreneurs to have, because you're typically wanting things to happen very quickly, but the regulators are not entrepreneurs. They have to manage what they have to manage. And I think the more you understand the regulators, the more you understand the speed of the regulator, I think you can kind of pace your innovation accordingly. And so I think for people starting up, I would recommend to understand the regulations very, very correctly, accurately, work with the regulators and time themselves, right? There are certain things just take time before you can kind of start to build products around it. On the Aadhaar thing, it's just unbelievable. I think it started about 10 years back, and now there are close to about more than 1 billion people where the biometrics are registered. And so we've got to do financial services for close to 800-900 million people. where KYC, for instance, was absolutely impossible to be done if there wasn't a system like Aadhaar. And, collecting physical documents is impossible. Collecting physical documents for a very large population, which is relatively very poor, is even more difficult, right? Because their availability of documents are difficult. The quality of the documents very difficult. As a result of which, Aadhaar has been a significant, technology milestone and an enabler for a lot of innovations to happen. And let me just share with you guys, especially during this spread of the pandemic and the country going under severe lockdown, it has impacted livelihood for millions of people in India. We had about 6-8 weeks of complete lockdown, and now the country is going through slowly unlock different phases of unlock. And through the last 3 months, the government has managed to disburse direct benefit transfer to probably close to about 500 million people. And all of that has happened using systems around Aadhaar, where people disburse money into the bank account, but the consumers, the migrant, the poor people, where the incentives, the disbursements have gone, they don't have debit cards, they don't have ATMs. So they actually use providers like ours, where these neighborhood mom and pop stores actually have a small biometric device, which is a registered device, certified device by Aadhaar, where people can actually come to these small mom and pop stores, put their biometric on that small device. It's absolutely secure, and they're able to debit the bank account and access the money in their bank accounts. Now, this was absolutely not possible if Aadhaar wouldn't have been there. So right from 13, like I said in the beginning, in about 13 years back, India was just about 20% people who were banked. I'm happy to share in 2020 there is nobody in India who does not have a bank account. So banking, having a bank account is done. Now it's a question of how do you get people to bank? How do you make transactions more accessible? Failure rates are very low. People know how to do it. So we are solving the next stage rather than getting people to have bank accounts. And some of this would have not be possible if infrastructures like Aadhaar wouldn't have been built by the country in the last 5-7 years.
Thank you. I also think the same way that regulators, they are regulators, and then they govern the business activities. But at the same time, they could also be enablers. And so closely working with regulators actually in a way is also help us to shape our mind that how we can develop our business in a more efficient way. Thank you very much. And Mikael, the question for you is, so Eight Securities, it's focused on the investment business, and being a fintech company and in the financial centers, and I guess from the very first day, the business activity has to be governed by regulators from different angle, and I think maybe every day you have to think about that, how you should work with regulators, how you can communicate with regulators. And sometimes we know that regulators might not always go faster or go as fast as innovators. So from your perspective, how do you work with regulators, and how do you deal with the communication with them or collaboration with them? And do you see any difficulties or challenges, and how do you solve that?
Yes, so I think for any consumer fintech business that's dealing with real client money, it is a consideration that you really have to have in play. And I think we were fortunate as a founding team in that we'd come from E-Trade, which was a regulated business, and I had the opportunity to run regulated businesses in numerous countries prior to starting my own business. So there was some degree of experience there, and also running E-Trade's Asia business from Hong Kong. I had that experience with the SFC, which was certainly helpful. For those that come straight into a regulated business without experience, that's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. But I would say, Eight Securities had a number of firsts. We were the first brokerage in Asia to run entirely in the cloud. We were Asia's first robo-advisor. We were Asia's first mobile-only investing service. We're the first broker in Asia to go to zero commission. So it's a number of things along the way that obviously, required regulators' attention. I think the advice I would give any entrepreneur, and it's very simple advice, is just start the discussion early. Don't wait until you're halfway through building your product. Don't wait, and certainly don't wait until you've built your product, but start the conversation early. That way you can be having these discussions with the regulator in parallel with your product build. And so hopefully by the time you're done and you're ready to go to market, a lot of that legwork with the regulator has been completed. So I think simple advice, start the process with the regulator very, very early.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very good advice. Start a conversation with regulator as early as possible. Okay. Thank you. And then I think my question I would like to go on to the stage of scaling up the business. So, and I would like to talk about collaboration and as well as competition. So, Mikaal, so what I think I have you already on, answering that question, the previous question. So I will continue to ask, what would you say have been the key ingredients for your success? And what advice you would like to give to your founders with regard to pitfalls to avoid? And also, I mean, particularly, I know you're in Hong Kong, and then there are a lot of banks and investment firms around you. I guess the competition is, I wouldn't know, I personally don't know how to describe it. So, but I know it's fierce. So I will hand over to you to talk about that.
Yes. So, I think a lot of attention when we think about scaling, maybe too much attention is often put on technology. Can your infrastructure scale? Can your product scale? Is your software scalable? I think all of these things are largely understood by an entrepreneur today, and technology has evolved that, you should be building a scalable product on scalable infrastructure. I think what's often not given enough time is the scalability of your team. And I'm not talking about increasing the size of your team. This sounds a little bit abstract, but I'm talking more about, I guess, the sort of mindset of the team. Is the mindset of your management team and your leadership able to scale? And what I mean by that is, yes, of course you have to be forward looking. You've got to have a vision, but there's two qualities I look in everyone we hire. This could be someone in the front level operations staff all the way to a senior hire. And I tell this of every person I've ever hired for the team, is I think you've got to have a high tolerance for risk taking, because when we talk about competition, you're right. Hong Kong is fierce competition across every category. Our competitive advantage, and I think the competitive advantage of everyone on this panel, is speed. You just have to do things faster, but you can't do things fast without making some mistakes along the way. So whether it's running a marketing program or launching a new product feature, I go in, realizing that the majority of things we try probably won't work. But it's about identifying the 2-3 that do work, putting more resources into those, and then trying new things as well. And then the second quality I think is important for hiring a scalable team is identifying people that are self-directed, that people know what they want to do when they come into the office every morning. They get on with it. They don't need to be micromanaged. So I think those two things go hand in hand. Being self-directed, willing to take risks. I think if you can build those qualities into your team, you can build a scalable business. I don't think the technology is so much the problem. It's really more of an HR issue.
Thank you. I do echo that. And I think that's not only for startup, it's also for the innovation team for Big Corp or any of the, startups inside of a corporation that we need to focus on, finding the right team, and specifically that will link to, having the entrepreneurial culture, entrepreneurial mindset in the team. So that pushed the company further. Thank you very much. And Mikaal, as Mikaal just mentioned, that Hong Kong is competitive in all ways in the financial industry. So Amanda, the question to you is, so do you benchmark your service to the traditional markets? And do you, or did you start designing your business model from scratch? How does that actually help you to make decision?
I think it's relatively harder for us to do everything from scratch because we are regulators. So we kind of have a model that we have to follow. But of course, we do benchmark ourselves, with traditional incumbents, but at the same time with new players as well. Because, with Phoebe, there's other 7 players coming along as well. So we always think about, like what can we do differently from incumbents' perspective, and how can we do better than others competitors. Especially, I think there's a blend between what is a bank and what is like a wallet, and all these things. So we have to be quite, I'll say, think out of the box in terms of, when we think about the offerings to our customers. We often ask ourselves, why, if you're the customers of, if you're in that shoes, like why would you choose Zhong'an's products rather than others? So this is the things that we always got challenged by our management as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So to find that unique value proposition for Zhong'an with even it's with a defined, well-defined business model in the market that still make Zhong'an differentiate Zhong'an from other traditional players. Thank you very much. And Abhinav, the question for you is: so in the India FinTech ecosystem, or India the financial industry ecosystem, how do you position yourself, toward with regard to the traditional players? Do you consider yourself a disruptor or an enabler? And while you are working with them or interact with them, do you see most of the things are in the collaboration, or a lot of things are going into the competition side of the world?
Thanks for asking this question. We had a huge problem at hand in India. We had to scale, right? India is a huge country with over 1 billion people. And while I shared this in the beginning that we served close to about 40 million people in the last 13 years, but from an India perspective, this is probably tip of the iceberg. No, we still don't. We've scaled. We are pan India, but we are not massive. So even at 40 million consumers that we've served, we are still not massive. So here in India, we had to figure out ways to be massive, to be really, really large scale in India. And in that, we really had to start to redefine who's competition, who's a collaborator, and things like that. And let me share a few things that we kind of looked at. We had to, because we had to scale significantly. My team, myself, we had to look for examples across the globe to say which other players, not even in financial services, but anywhere across the world, have scaled significantly and in a very short period of time. And so two specific examples that I would like to share, and we kind of learned a lot from those. One is how Amazon, and I'm doing big examples, right? How Amazon, out of its infrastructure, created an AWS, and how Google, captured all the innovation in its Play Store, right? So, for instance, today, while we acquire a lot of, we collaborate with the banks, and we create our own applications and our own solutions to acquire the mom and pop store and the consumers. We've also kind of opened our entire infrastructure pretty much in the lines of an AWS. So we've got something called an Echo Platform Services, which is similar to what an AWS is for Amazon. And we today we power close to about 200 smaller networks in India, which are my competition. So we power our own competition. So we kind of mushroomed a lot of our competition in India about 5 years back, which really what it did was, while it increased the market size and competition, but it gave Echo and the entire platform services a huge market share by sprouting a lot more competition. So we started and we continue to process a lot of our competition information. And this wouldn't have been possible if we were not collaborating with a lot of banks, right? So we, as fintechs, we take a lot of our capability from banks, repackage them, make them far more intelligent, and we then kind of, present it to our consumer base on the use cases that we are building for. And so, I would, for people starting off, for entrepreneurs who are thinking, I would genuinely, request, or my suggestion would be to, look for examples across the world which have scaled significantly using technology, and see what we can learn out of them, what we can leverage, because technology and capabilities, processing, storage, lot of things have changed. And if we start to build, including all of those capabilities, I think the product that comes out is a lot more, scalable, can reach to a lot many people. And so yeah, I would actually recommend people to look for a lot of examples. We do this all the time as to, what are the other good practices, best practices that, that people are taking across the globe to kind of scale the services.
Thank you very much. I'm also note that down, is always look for examples like those good practice across the globe. And I also hear what you say is, to rethink of the position of the company and rethink the solution that you are providing, and then think about yourself, think about ecosystem in a much broader way, because the technology apparently have playing a very key role or successful role to enable a lot of the requests, either from business or from customers. Thank you very much. And I think the next question is, so there's a lot of questions that from my end. I think I'll just have an open one from all of you. Is there any other key takeaways or any other insights that you wanted to share, but I didn't ask? Maybe I'll go from you, Abhinav.
I think, I would actually like to kind of second, what Mikael shared. I think as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest and the most difficult things is to build a team. I think the toughest job, whether, today we work from home, I think it's gotten even more difficult, which is to actually walk into the office every day and motivate the rest of your team to actually produce fantastic work, right? This is really the job of an entrepreneur. If we can get 100 more people to start to be motivated to produce the best work that they can produce on that particular day, our job is done. And this has become tenfold more difficult by not even having the opportunity of meeting them face to face, right? And we've got to do this all online. So this is absolutely building of team and making sure that the purpose to the team is really well defined. You continue to refine the purpose every day, every week if it needs to be. There's nothing cast in stone. And I would really double down on what Mikael said, that if we can building a team, motivating a team, getting them to be a very, very aligned to your purpose and your mission statement, then it gets a lot easier for the entrepreneur to build beautiful and better products. I think it's very important.
Thank you very much. And Amanda, are there any insights or you wanted to share?
I'm not an entrepreneur myself, but I've seen a lot of cases. I do agree that, I think there's a few elements that you need to be successful. Of course, you need passion to get you working 24/7. Also, you need a little bit of luck. But then I guess, I agree with the talent part, because I've seen a lot of, cases that they have a very close team when they started. But, once things started to scale up, then you have to question whether your team it's able to scale up with you. Are they being flexible enough, or would it be better if you hire some expertise from incumbents? Can they actually merge into the culture of your company? So there's a lot of frictions that I've been seeing, and stop companies to scale up. These are some things that I think from an entrepreneur perspective that you have been aware of, and I often give advice to people who like to join the fintech, not coming along because it's a sexy word, but also think about whether you wanted to, you know, what kind of environment that you would like to work into. That's the advice that I would give out. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Mikael.
Yes. So my advice is embrace constraint. I think as I look back on the journey, the best work we ever did was when we were really constrained. And I think we talked before about how difficult it is to build a business. If you're raising capital, for example, it's very likely that it's going to take twice as long as you think it will in order to raise it. If you're in financial services, you can't predict what the macro, environment's going to be like, especially ours in investing. Is it going to be up? Is it going to be down? That affects, consumer behavior greatly. And I just noticed over time, it was those periods where we had constraint, whether it was external factors, internal factors, capital factors, whatever it may be, we did our best work. And it's a bit counterintuitive, but it really forces you to focus. And I think that's the key thing. So I think it's advice that's probably timely right now for a lot of entrepreneurs that are struggling. It's very difficult to raise money in this environment. There's 101 reasons why it's difficult right now. And so my advice would be really focus. If you feel constrained, embrace it and focus. If that means, you're focusing on 2 products instead of 4, you should probably do it. So, and that's just coming from an entrepreneur who didn't follow this advice, being me, but learned some lessons along the way. So I think embrace constraints, focus, and if you're able to sort of get through this period, you'll have a very strong company on the other end.
Thank you very much. That's very inspiring. And one last question for my panel. So let's look forward. I believe like the world is experiencing some transformational change right now. So where do you see your company or your industry that in 1 or 2 years time frame? We can't, foresee for too long, but how about 2 years time frame? And so Mikael, do you mind I start from you?
Sure. So taking the first quarter of this year as an example, the first and second quarter, in fact, our business is up about 500% compared to 2019. And that's across every metric, whether it's turnover, new accounts, deposits, transactions, what have you. And I don't think that's unique to our business. I think a lot of digital businesses are experiencing this growth. And so it is transformative. I think that as we look ahead now, it's just about embracing these new customer relationships we have that we may not have had things not changed. Whereas before, someone could walk into a bank branch in Hong Kong, there's 3 on every corner. It's easy. When you take that away and people are really, forced to use digital products, we have an opportunity then to sort of show them why it's better than the old way. And so I think that's the key thing is just, embracing, these new relationships we have with customers, proving to them we have a superior product, proving to them it's more flexible. So I think all of these things are our sort of biggest challenge, but I think will lead to a much bigger digital businesses in a few years than what we would have experienced otherwise.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. And Amanda?
We have been quite lucky. We are in an expansion mode. So I foresee for VBs and virtual insurers that we are having a very positive, futures in the coming 2 years. I think the only challenge would be, actually that too. When more competitors are coming in, how can we cope with that? And then the second one is that, of course, with the overall economy, how are we going to fight with that? But I think there is a niche for us is because with the virtual, digital elements, the fee, the requirements that we have are actually quite low compared with incumbents. So we see there's actually an opportunities for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Abhinav?
Pretty much on the same lines. We haven't been so lucky in the current circumstances to be 500% up, but there are certain parts of our business which is significant. Crawling back to the levels of business that we were doing in February. While there are certain parts of the business which is really going through the roof, and the part which is going through the roof in our case is really the business that we do in rural part of our country. And so we are noticing a significant amount of digital adoption, financial services adoption in the rural part of the country at this point in time. And there's a decline in the urban centers. So pretty much similar learnings that this growth in the rural India we wouldn't have experienced if these were not the circumstances. And these are absolutely also in our company there were a lot of processes where there were human to human interaction between, let's say, certain, franchisees of ours and the end consumers and many other things. Even the enrollment of franchisees or mom and pop stores who kind of work with us, there's a lot of human to human interaction. And none of those processes are happening in the last 3 months. All of them have turned digital and online. So there are a lot of things that, have a lot of processes that were built over the last 10 years, which kind of, depended on human to human interaction, has completely gone digital and online, which is fantastic for us. I hope it stays like that even once when life is back to normal. And I hope that the rural business, which is, significantly on a rise at this point in time, continues to behave in a similar manner even after life is normal. And a lot of things happening digitally, a lot of things happening online from both, from our consumer side as well as the mom and pop stores. So yeah, a significant change, a very fast change that have happened over the last 6-8 weeks, even for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And by the way, one last point that I would like to make, we had these rituals about coming to work and things like that. Today, the entire world is working from home. I think even as professionals, I think we've started to understand the difference between work for home and work from home very significantly. And I think as professionals in 2020, I think there's a lot of maturity in all of us to make it to pull off work in this manner.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think I have very positive response, positive feedback from my panel, and that's also something that I am very excited to hear, that even in this COVID-19, the impact, I think we're still very positive, and we also think there will be a bright future for all of us in our industry. I'm very excited to hear that. So I think this is our panel for today. So I would like to give a big thanks to my panelists, Amanda, Abhinav, Mikaal. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I hope our panel could give some good insights for our audience as well. So thank you very much. And I will end our panel now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.